So in round 1, he had a game against Sho Fukumachi, and he lost that one. Oh, and we're underway. So we start out blowing out of this, and we've got 1 item and 100 gold. And then we see the shop. Both runners go into the shop, and we find medical herbs and warp boots. And our sword today, our initial sword, which we have on these flags, you're guaranteed to get a sword from the Elder there. And today that sword is the Sword of Water. So there are 4 swords in Crystalis, and so the first sword, Sword of Water, is a trade-in item for Rage here. Rage gives us an item, and if we can go past into the barrier there, you can actually see a message from Misha, who's sort of a heroine of this game, but really she doesn't have a lot of appearances, and unless you play like 100% route, you're probably not going to see much of her. So, but in the randomizer, you actually have to see this little sequence. Steve Hack's remembering that you must talk to the fortune teller before the queen appears. Sylverfyre is going to get the news here that the queen does not show up until you see the fortune teller. Hopefully they remember that they need to go back to the fortune teller here. And what was the item there?
So that was an alarm flute, so that's going to take them immediately back to the start here using a wild warp. They're going to run over to the cave to the west here, currently sealed off, but they need to talk to the Elder in there, Zebu, so that way they can trigger the very sleepy windmill guard to exist. He's so asleep that you can't shake him awake. You gotta play an alarm flute, which I imagine is a really loud, annoying whistle that says, "Hey, wake up." This kind of sounds familiar to some fairy, I don't know. Hey, listen!
Okay, luckily Sylverfyre remembering that, and getting their alarm flute as well.
It looks like Sylverfyre is heading up to the spot to use the flute. However, the windmill guard will not be there without talking to. Looks like they might have just remembered. Yep, looks like they're killing off tigers, getting some good money, which is a great way to farm, and they definitely remember going over to the west cave there. So spawn that guard here in just a moment, and then make their way back up.
It's sort of a funny trigger here to have to talk to Zebu, but it's kind of an iconic part of the beginning of the speedrun in pretty much any category in Crystalis, so it's been kind of retained for the randomizer. So Steve Hack's taking the windmill key to the windmill directly, which is exactly where it should be. Starting the windmill, which opens up a cave. For some reason, starting this windmill just blows up this hole in the wall that leads to a cave. And in this cave, what will we find?
Well, outside, we're going to get given the gift of the Sword of Wind. So I imagine we're going to find the Orb of Wind here, and that will allow our runners to get through the rest of the cave, as well as out to Bryn Mawr and Saber West, though they won't be able to do much at Saber West currently, but it'll get them a couple more checks and allow them to turn in that statue of Onyx they found.
So you know what I'm getting the feel? This setup with wind and water starting out, this is the setup for a fairly tough seed.
It's going to be a fairly long seed, potentially, especially picking up paralysis here. Means that we could see our friendly neighborhood wonderful trolls coming out in force here in terms of giving out bad items.
And there's that orb, just as you thought of. Just as you thought.
Yep, it's gonna be a goose chase. Now, flight could be anywhere, and that is one of the requirements here for our runners to hit go mode, as long as those 3 bows also show up. But getting the Sword of Water early can sometimes mean that you're not going to see flight, and you're actually going to have to utilize the orb. Or I can be proven instantly wrong because it's right there. So we thought it was going to be long. This is just going to open up a ton of stuff for them right now.
So that flight opens up quite a bit here. You know, a lot of things would have opened up if we would have had the orb of water and we could build these water bridges. But flight, with flight, you can fly right over those bridges, and you can also fly over other things too. Oh, and that's another big find, especially in combination with flight here. Okay, so Sylverfyre taking a death. They will probably... Oh, looks like they're going to grind a little bit. Whoa, they did not checkpoint at the entrance to the cave, so they'll have to go back here, little walk. But then they've got to get all their items again. Whereas Steve Hacks taking on the vampire, a little mini-boss here at the end of the cave, which we sort of call the vampire cave, just because of this vampire here. Steve making short work of the vampire, just getting a consumable fruit for his results. However, he does get to go through the cave and into this sort of next area where there's a town and a few other things, a few checks he's going to be able to get to. And that was a pretty nice check.
I don't know about you, but I love getting an early ring, be it the warrior ring or the power ring. Warrior ring, we're just going to be able to shoot off the level 1 charge shot like it's no big deal. So enemies, they're going to be super easy to kill, going to get a lot of XP and a lot of money. Talking with Steve earlier in the week, he's super happy anytime he can find that warrior ring early, because that's just going to save him so much in terms of grinding later in the run.
It is. It's a really fun item to have, and especially in this setup, they don't have any healing, they don't have the refresh spell, and they don't have the teleport spell. So they're relying on items. If they need to move around the map, they need to buy warp boots, and they need to buy medical herbs to heal themselves. So I think we'll be seeing that warrior ring be put to use.
Oh, definitely. It's going to be putting in a lot of work here. Even if they have to ping enemies, dealing the lowest amount, 1 point of damage, they'll be able to still get a lot done with that for sure.
Sylverfyre having some trouble here. They picked up the orb, they got their flight, but they also got poisoned. And that poison, they don't have any way to deal with unless they find an antidote. Or buy one, but I don't believe they did.
Nope, and Steve's making a good play here, remembering, oh yeah, I've got flight, and I gotta walk past here. He's gonna check the Messia answering machine, and then make his way back over towards Portoa here. I imagine he's gonna checkpoint there, and then maybe go into the caves, because he may remember that the warp boots there were fairly lower in cost, but it looks like he might just be diving right into Crystalis Plant Cave there.
This is a good call. You know, when you do that recording, you're right in the area, and so, you know, you might as well just dive in here and check it out, see what you get here. There's only 2 items, but it's fairly fast, and in this cave, you might be able to find some more experience, and with that warrior ring... Oh, gonna take a reset after getting poisoned again.
Yeah, definitely can't blame him for that. This cave is fairly short. Fairly short in terms of items, only having 2 for density. But the paths themselves are a bit long, and that is our second mimic there. I'm super happy to see that. So we are starting to rack up that mimic percent count. And that, speaking of Mimic, doing work on Steve here. He's checking his inventory to see he is going to take that reset again. They do have the Psycho Armor, so it is worth noting that if they stand still... Hello, Bert! Shoutouts to Bert, the wonderful sorcerer there who's casting spells. It is worth mentioning that the Psycho Armor, while standing still, will regenerate your health faster than you will take damage with poison. But that obviously means that our runners have to stop moving. So that is, unfortunately, something that's going to happen. It looks like Steve is not going to find the Bert. That's Bert with an E. Oh, there's Bert.
So there's quite a few ways you can deal with Bert. If you use Barrier Spell, if you have the Barrier Spell, you can just deflect their shots. Oh, and that's a teleport spell. Very useful.
That's an extremely good pickup here. Very happy to run into that. Steve using his Warp Boots here. Gonna go back because they don't have the MP for that. Looks like sylverfyre is gonna opt to Wild Warp. I completely agree with that play, since they'll be able to heal up in the inn and port themselves up to Portoa there. I believe Steve did check. Steve checked the answering machine. I don't know if sylverfyre did. I didn't catch that when they went by earlier.
Oh, I didn't see.
Because I know they left Windmill Cave here. Steve is checking there. He's getting the Mirror Shield, and then he's gonna get Refresh from Calming the Angry Sea. So that's super good knowledge there.
Another nice find. Now you can just recover your HP with your MP, and when you get a magic ring like that, you can carry around these magic rings and Fruit of Power to recover your MP, and kind of just dig into your MP pool instead of having to use your items.
Alright, sylverfyre just found change, so that'll come into play later to get them to the other side of the world, unless they find that Sword of Thunder first. Steve stopping at Joel here to trigger the next event for Evil Spirit Island, which honestly is the next largest density play, and it looks like that's what he's going for. He might actually opt to go up to Swan first, just so that way he can get the teleport point for later. That's exactly what he's doing.
But, you know, he does have change, so he might just take his change and go through on. You know, I can see either way being good. Evil Spirit Island has a lot of checks, 9 of them in total. However, on the other side of the world with Flight, he can get even more.
That is definitely true. So while Steve was crossing the ocean there to the other side of the world, sylverfyre did just finish off the vampire. He's going to be able to cross through here to Bryn Mawr, turn in that statue, and be very happy with what they get.
So we're going to get a checkpoint in Goa. Steve perhaps thinking that he could do the Brokahana check, but remembering that he does not have the Ivory Statue, which is the necessary trigger for that.
We got a good question in chat here. What is the max level in this game? Max, why don't you field that one for me?
The maximum level is 16. However, in the randomizer, so in the vanilla game, you actually needed level 16 in order to fight the final bosses. But in the randomizer, the level requirements have been removed. And so, while there's no hard requirement to do damage to an enemy, in practical terms, you're probably going to need to be level 11 or 12. You know, so 12 is sort of like a sweet spot. It's easy to reach relatively, but at the same time, you've got a lot of MP. You can do decent damage even at the higher scaling levels. Because we actually have scaling in the randomizer too. So that scaling number you see to the right of their level. So Steve is at level 4 and scaling 14. And every time they pick up a unique item, you'll see that scaling increase. So that magic ring that Steve picked up did not. But if we see a sword or a even a trade-in item, that will increase the that scaling factor. And that scaling factor adds... it makes the enemy stronger. Oh, and Steve making interesting play here. Instead of going into the rest of Goa, he's gonna head to Sahara.
So yeah, this is actually a really smart play. We were talking about checkpointing earlier this week, and he's actually gonna go down as well, and then go back up to turn in Dio, because if he gets something that he doesn't like, he's gonna be able to reset out of that.
So the reason why he wouldn't like it is because it sets up his it increases his scaling. So if it's a unique item that you don't really need, possibly because I'm not sure if that was intentional that he changed into Stom and talked to someone in town, but that was an interesting check. But anyway, yes, when you increase your scaling, the enemies become harder, which means that the bosses are more difficult. Your damage of your sword is based on your level and your sword level. Unlike the base game, the damage of your sword increases with the level of your charge. So you can see both runners right now have up to 2 levels of charge. The maximum you can get is 3. And so that'll increase their damage output.
So I'm super happy because we're getting a lot of good checks here with mimics. We're at 3.
Oh, that was a big one. And they can actually, well, they can get there, but we don't have a good way to get through the barrier. Well, we'll see.
If you're practiced with it, you can definitely get through using flight now. We did discover that.
That's right. Yeah. It was not so much discovered as revealed by Matrick here.
That's super exciting. So Steve just got a fully powered up sword handed to him because he does have that bracelet. So that is super good. Looks like SylverFyre did check in with the answering machine earlier, going to talk to the Queen here, and is now making their way out to sea and potentially all the way across. It is also worth noting now that since we do know where the Sword of Fire is, that does put in the last part of Evil Spirit Island with Sabera in logic. So that's going to get the extra check there from Sabera, as well as the Clark Kent check.
Additionally, the Sword of Fire is also going to get us a few other areas. We've got the Waterfall Cave near Portoa, and then there's also the Mount Saber area. Now, we don't have access to Mount Saber North, but we do have access to Mount Saber South just by warping to Bryn Mawr now. So more about scaling. The enemies get stronger, but they also drop more gold and experience. So as your scaling goes up, you really want to make sure that you increase your level too. Conversely, it's kind of not worth it so much to fight enemies right when you start out, or maybe as your level goes up. But as your scaling goes up, you really got to make sure that you beat some more enemies, or else you are going to have some trouble with the bosses, and also just not taking too much damage from the enemies.
right, we're keeping on with our train of diversions here. Silverfyre is heading up for Mount Hydra, while Steve entered the back of Goa through Oasis Cave, and he's in the Goa Fortress top floor right now, checking out good chunk of items here, and finding the Bow of Sun. So that's definitely a really good play, getting one of our 4 required items here, only needing 2 left. That's also a really good find there in Chiron. The tornado bracelet is there, so hopefully all of our runners will go there before they head to Saber to be able to also get that extra turn in requiring the tornado bracelet.
So the another thing that's in logic now, well, I guess not quite now yet, but with the tornado bracelet. So basically the thing is, with these flags, you need the bracelet in order to fight the bosses. And one of the bosses is weak against the Wind Sword. And the first fight against him is in Mount Saber North, which we don't quite have access to yet, but when we do, he'll be in logic. And we also don't have access to his other location yet, but that will put another spot in logic.
Yeah, it is worth noting that Silverfyre in the first chest on Hydra here did find the power ring, so both of our runners here have good options for what they can do in terms of damage. Steve now getting his tornado bracelet. So this is going to come down to whether Silverfyre finds a barrier or a shield ring or something to allow them to take more damage or deflect more damage, because it's definitely going to be something you want when you're going to go into Styxy, as Steve doesn't know that he missed out on the key by not going into Foglamp Cave. It is also worth noting the times that I have seen Steve do runs in his practice runs, thank you for mimic number 4, Silverfyre, that he opts to hit the first 3 chests and then usually dips out of Foglamp Cave. So we'll definitely have to see if that comes back into play later when he sweeps up those checks.
That's an interesting gambit, because that last item takes quite a bit to get, but if it's an important one, then you could be missing out. So Mount Hydra here is a good place to check. There's actually 5 items if you count all the chests, and the last include... Oh, but this will be the last one that we get until leaving. Steve probably... actually, so really good that Steve's heading up there. He's going to be just behind Silverfyre.
It's unfortunate, though, because he did also go out of his way to already stop into Chiron and get the tornado bracelet, so the warp isn't going to be the best thing for him, but finding the sword is definitely going to be a nice little comfort sigh of relief that it wasn't too far out of the way in terms of a teleport. Since Silverfyre got ported out, it looks like they're heading themselves over to the pyramid here. Actually, I'm not sure where they... It looks like they just overshot a little bit, so they're turning around. Yep, so they're going to make their way over to the pyramid and be very happy to find the Sword of Fire in there.
So, something about that location of the Sword of Thunder, we've got 2 checks at the top of Mount Hydra that are fairly isolated now, and if one of those last bows is there, which quite possibly could be, we might have a pretty long scene on our hands.
It's definitely possible, but it looks like Steve is going to go back up there and check. I think the last couple of races, since he had a similar situation happen, He's actually gotten a lot better in terms of wanting to make sure the full clear areas, especially now that he's teleport. He's gonna make. I could imagine he's always gonna make this play, since he has the ability to get around. Very happy to see that he's gonna go back in here and clear that out.
And it's not a bad call. You know, so item-wise, you can see on the scaling, Steve has a big advantage over sylverfyre, and over item location checked. Besides the fog lamp cave, Steve is at a pretty big advantage here. Will we have a Shiren slumber party for progression? Quite possibly, because we have the Sword of Thunder. We have actually all of the requirements to get there. We've got the Sword of Thunder, and we've got the refresh spell, which is one of the triggers, or one of the logical requirements to get through the barrier. And it's not to be today. Nothing on the top of Mount Hydra. However, we did see another Mimic.
We're at 5. I am pleased.
So thank you for heading back up there, Steve, to show us that Mimic, which we might not have seen otherwise.
He's doing me proud right now. Ooh, and he's doing me another proud right now. Density checks, heading over to Saber. He's got that tornado bracelet in hand. He says, I'm going to get every single one of these checks. Really happy to see this.
This is a great play.
Yep, super happy to see this. Got the fully powered Sword of Fire. He's going to be able to get through all the walls here. sylverfyre now checking out bottom of Oasis in the meanwhile, which is a good play. We know that there's a couple of good things down here.
The only thing, though, I don't believe Steve made a checkpoint at the right at the entrance of this mountain. So if he doesn't like what he sees here, he's going to have to keep going on or reset all the way back to Bryn Mawr.
There's a Mimic!
So sylverfyre right now has the Sword of Thunder, but is lacking a ball, so they can't break the iron wall that guards the power ring spot. So they'll actually have the same number of checks in the Oasis Cave here, but they're gonna head into Goa now, and we'll see if they actually beat. So they may choose to take out Carmine, which adds 2 more checks. They're technically not in logic because you're supposed to have the Ball of Thunder, but they might do it anyway. Steve being thankful that he has the mirror shield from earlier. That mirror shield blocks the stone effect from the Medusas here, so that he is able to just take those shots, nothing happens. It's very useful.
It is also worth though. He got slimed.
Those Nooper shots, on the other hand. However, the advantage is that those Nooper shots go away as soon as you go through a door. So as long as you can get through a door, not so bad, and it clears out any other status effects you've gotten. Okay, sylverfyre picking up their bow, now becoming on bow parity.
Alright, so looks like sylverfyre is just going to tank the hits here, heal up, and then go through. Steve, meanwhile, finding an opal statue and another consumable that was lost on the top of Saber there, so Be very interesting. Oh, getting neutered right away, and unfortunately having to reset out. I think they might have forgotten or tossed the Fruit of Repun. I believe there was one on that floor.
Steve, going into Evil Spirit Island, this is definitely a pretty good play. Meanwhile, Sylverfyre taking out Carmine, which is also a good play, though not technically in Logic.
Logic's more if you know guidelines anyway. Who actually listens to that stuff?
So the Carmine fight, actually, not that hard once you know how it works. The pattern is always the same. The boss takes the same pattern walking around, but Sylverfyre not deciding it's not worth it and gonna go on to other fields.
It is worth noting, Steve has not done Waterfall Cave yet, which is where Sylverfyre is heading. Steve did find the Flute of Lime, so that will allow to fully clear there when he does come back later. So I do like that Steve did hold off on that. It's just kind of a luck thing there, especially when he got the Sword of Fire as late as he did.
And Steve finding everyone's favorite item, the Fruit of Lime. The Fruit of Lime clears the Stone status, which, well, is a status that clears itself over in just a few seconds, and as long as you don't die, it's not. It doesn't really have any bad effects.
Sylverfyre in the Waterfall Cave here, first chest, did find the Blizzard Bracelet, so that's definitely a good thing. Steve, meanwhile, finding Mimic.
That noise, that flail noise from there is one of the more terrifying things that you hear, because these flail guys, they are really annoying. Their attacks come out, practically instantly. You can avoid them if you kind of have some ideas as far as how to kind of juke their shots away. But they're actually a pretty tough foe.
So finally finding that love pendant here, we'll be able to turn that in. So Steve found that there in the fortress on Evil Spirit Island. Sylverfyre did find the shell flute, so not a great pickup there, as we already have flight.
Steve fighting the second version of the vampire and picking up the glowing lamp for his efforts. That lamp lets you repair the broken statue and get the Calm the Angry Sea. Did we see what that reward is yet?
That was Refresh. Speaking of broken statue, there it is. So Steve's going to be very happy. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to find a way to route that in later. Definitely to pick that up if he gets the eyeglasses. You could easily see him doing that. Just having the extra healing option there is super nice. It is worth noting too that Sylverfyre, the other item, was the insect flute. We don't have the gas mask yet to protect from the damage, and I don't see anyone doing a hell run, so to speak, to put themselves in harm's way to go into the swamp, especially since we don't have telepathy yet.
And the word is with these flags, it's generally not a good idea to sequence break, or at least kind of really go out of your way to do it, which a hell run definitely is.
You say that, and then there are times where, like, we've actually had some sequence breaks pay off really big. So it's definitely an option. Steve getting nothing from our friend Clark Kent here. Looks like he is gonna go right over and pick up his refresh. He's gonna be super happy to be able to have that healing.
Refresh is a really great spell to have. You'll be able to recover your HP with just your MP. Won't need to worry about healing items, and you can just, if you don't mind a little menu time to equip that spell and recover your HP. You notice we've got a whole bunch of magic rings there. Each of those magic rings is a full MP recharge.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I have a full inventory of magic rings, and I'm gonna go get the healing spell. Just tells me that I'm set for the game at this point. We've got teleport to get around, we've got refresh, we've got recover for in a bad pinch, and the nice thing too is Steve routed in the love pendant check here because he did pick that up. So this is actually a really good play for him. So ESI might pay off here, but as we know, Kensu is a jerk. And just giving a Fruit of Power today, so maintaining his jerk status.
Dragonia, wise men, who cares? Let's party. I think Kensu is my favorite wise man. Sylverfyre reaching the top of Mount Saber South, not having the tornado bracelet for tornado. Or wait, do they?
They did. It was a consumable, so
it must have been a consumable.
Didn't get anything. Yep, we'll never know what it is because Steve did the same thing.
I see. Meanwhile, Steve catching up with the waterfall here. He got his Blizzard bracelet, and now he's going to be moving in to pick up the other items in here.
So yeah, since Steve has the flute, we're gonna see one new item, and we're gonna see which item here the there we go, Steve. Which item the statues here are gonna tell us about. Talk to him again. Teleport. So
teleport, very nice.
Yeah, but they already have that, so it selected the one in the Crystalis plant cave.
So we just were looking at the code about this, and it turns out that the item that they talk about is some unique item that could be in the Crystalis plant cave or the fog lamp cave.
There's our ball of thunder.
Oh!
So that is big.
And that is big. That is a very big progression at this point right now, because that gets you into Goa Fortress, which is where by far the biggest amount of items are.
Now here's the question. Is Steve going to go back to Portoa and down, or is he going to make the play? He's going to make the play. Okay, so he's going big density play, which no one here can fault him for. I definitely would be doing the same thing at this point. Don't have barrier, so he's going to tank through the front of this, and he's going to actually attempt to do the flight trick here. Come on, you can do it, Steve. Just do it. Just go. Yeah, there you go. It's as simple as that. You just go up, and you go. It's so good. So Magic showed us off this trick here, and you can actually just bypass this. This play is still in logic because you can definitely tank this. And someone mentioned before in chat about the Shyron Slumber Party for progression. We're about to find out. Steve, are you going to check on him? No. Not checking on Stom. Not today. Gonna have a fun time with Mado. While Steve triggered the sequence, Sylverfyre has fully cleared Evil Spirit Island and is heading into the fortress there. He's gonna get a couple more checks here, as well as a refight with that vampire.
Today, Stom is just sleeping.
Key to prison?
Wow.
And you said before, hey, I wonder if we're gonna get there because of the Sword of Fire. We definitely have access now. We've got access through the back. We all know what happens when you get key to prison late. It usually means there's a bow there. We've always had that, and in a lot of races, that's what it's come down to. So this is definitely going to be interesting where these last 2 bows are. It looks like Steve is opting to go for the back door here for Goa instead of the front. I kind of agree with this because you do have all the bracelets and you can go down.
And, you know, we've got 2 bows left, so we could have one of each. Of course, the best would be if we find 1 bow, 1 place, and then we have to go into the crypt so that we can see those last mimics.
You know what? You're not wrong, and that is definitely possible, but I still need someone to go check the Stixie play. Those are 6 boxes, and they could be the missing mimics we need. I'm just saying. Though I am thankful, Steve is going back and checking that Power Ring vanilla location here since he got that ball, so super happy to see him do this. Sylverfyre did pick up the broken statue. Oh, that's great. So Sylverfyre picking up the broken statue here. Gonna be able to get refreshed later if they want to. Steve finding barrier makes me super happy because logically the game says you can't pass through turrets without barrier or super healing and a way to get yourself. So we are now fully back in logic in terms of checks and things skipped over. So this is great. Steve gonna go through the back of Goa. Sylverfyre starting the fight with Sabera. Should be able to make pretty quick work here. Level 10 at 29 scaling. Yeah, should be super quick. And there it is. Gonna be rewarded here with Magic Ring. And then go to Clark Kent and be rewarded with another consumable.
So Steve is going to miss out on 1 check because he's missing the ivory statue here. That could be a potential place where an item, where a necessary item drops, but it's only 1 spot, so we got some hope.
That is very true. Steve's gonna opt to put on the barrier here because it's extremely useful in the fight. Get his Thunder Sword on and go to town. With the stab strats, I like that. It's a great call. Gonna get that extra damage out here.
As you know, I love that.
Oh, as we know, that is your favorite thing to do in the game. Getting rewarded with a medical herb here and another consumable.
Oh,
so not
Sylverfyre missing nothing.
Yep, no, they got everything through Evil Spirit Island there. Okay, so we know right now the big difference in terms of the item pools that remain. Sylverfyre does now have the Flute of Lime. They need to take that over to Waterfall Cave to get the Ball of Thunder. But we also know that Sylverfyre checked Carissa Plant Cave. Or no, excuse me, checked Foglamp Cave and got the key to Stixie in the last chest. So there's 2 big open spots left in terms of items that we could see that are still kind of gated. It looks like Sylverfyre is heading up there now, so I'm super excited for this. Please take the left. Yes!
Oh. Now, as far as the competitiveness of this race, we've got the Orb of Thunder on a check that Sylverfyre has orphaned. And so either they go back there, or we'll see if there's actually anything useful here. Steve has not found anything that great yet in Goa. It's a long shot, but there's most likely something required here.
Looks like Silver burnt their opal there, getting through the door, which is definitely a good play to do if you're going for speed. Let's see what we find here. The Carissa Plant, so that could be something. That's a definite good find here. Another Mimic. Great find. Great find.
Steve taking out Mato 2, the ultimate pinball wizard boss.
There's the shield ring. So, not really a great pickup, but it is going to add to scaling here. So we'll definitely be getting more XP from kills. Just another consumable. Doesn't want to take the time to check. Maybe it need another opal. We got one more chest here in Hydra. I wonder if Silver's going to go back for the 2 items in Hydra on the mountain there.
That would be interesting, and that would probably be, if they got desperate enough for that, they would probably go there before going all the way into the waterfall cave for just 1 check.
That is super true. It looks like we are going to see the Carissa plant turn in. And meanwhile, Steve did just find the Thunder Bracelet. So we do know that all bracelets have been found. The Carissa plant getting turned in for the battle armor, and back over to Steve finding the Bow of Moon. So we've got extra options. Just like you mentioned before, we could see that crypt play.
That's right. Another note is that since that bracelet, that Thunder Bracelet, is inside Goa, Sylverfyre must take the that Flute of Lime. That is a mandatory find, the Stone Akahana check. So Steve having a really big advantage in this race.
That's a good point. Oh no. So yeah, that is the only access, and there's not another way you can get through the iron walls here, so that is definitely worth noting. There's 2 more items here that Steve can check on. Rabbit boots.
So Steve at this point, just waiting for 1 item. He's looking for the Bow of Truth.
Now you and I know what they haven't checked yet. Where do you place it?
I mean, if I'm Steve, I'm wondering. Well, he's got the key to prison.
Yep.
So I'm gonna check Mount Saber North.
Okay. Now, see, I would definitely think that as of late, especially with how many times I've been burned there. But in a race, I think I would actually take the gamble. I think I would legitimately take the gamble and go for back a crypt and find that last bow, putting me that much closer and saving me time for go mode.
It's not a bad plan.
It's really not, but it is a gamble. You only get 2 checks in there compared to Saber North, which since you have the key 5, finding Fog Lamp, it's not going to do anything for them at this point in the game. Would be one way to help them cross the sea, but as we know, they've got flight, so it's not going to do anything for them.
So Sylverfyre making that play to the other 2 items in Mount Hydra, as we sort of predicted that she would go, or that they would go here before going to Stone Akahana. So they're getting short on locations here. They've done Stixie, so once they do this, there's probably nothing else except for Stone Akahana there.
I'm trying to think of what location Sylverfyre hasn't checked, and that's sounding pretty accurate. We're actually pretty close here to an almost hundo seed. Once Steve finishes Goa, he's going to have Fog Lamp Cave to check. And then it's only going to have Fog Lamp Cave. There's Mimic 11! You are almost there!
Wow.
We are 1 mimic away. We are 1 mimic away. Silverfyre getting to the top here, finding the mimic, and thinking through options of where to go. We know where they need to go. You want that Portoa warp.
Now, they do have the Flute of Lime, don't they? Where was
Yes.
it?
Yep, they picked it up. It was in Evil Spirit Island. It was in the first chest. Alright, and Steve finishing out General Kilbusk 2 here. Getting a consumable. So it is an opal, so very good find here. Looks like Silverfyre did port back to Portoa, so this is good. Steve also in Portoa. Our players are going to high five here in just a moment, going in and out of the end. Realizing that, yep, I've got a lot of flutes left. Steve's going to fly up here, go to the prison. Meanwhile, Silverfyre does know exactly where they're going to go and play a flute for him. So this is good. Getting back on track here. I want to know when Steve makes the play. I really want to know when he's going to make the play and go check Crypt.
So Matrick asking about the prison and Stixie. So Steve got the key to prison. I forget where it was, but Silverfyre had picked up the key to Stixie a while back from the Fog Lamp Cave. And Steve remembering...
Yep. So, Gas Mask was the notable pickup here. He did also get the key, or, excuse me, he got an Iron Necklace, but, yeah, it's getting that Gas Mask because they do have Insect Flute. Now, they don't have Telepathy, so that is only 1 check in Oak, and then there's also the fight with a certain pupil who may or may not be currently asleep.
And that 1 check isn't actually in Oak, it's reaching Oak and doing the fight against Stom.
Mm-hmm.
Steve taking the back way through the caves here. Not the fastest, but it gets you through here to this is the vanilla location for the Key of Prison.
Speaking of telepathy that we didn't have until now, it sounds like Saber North here is going to be the wind-up play in terms of us finding things. So, notice he doesn't have the port there. Is he doing it?
He may be.
Do it, Steve.
You know, notably, Steve is noping out of 2 checks that are still there on Mount Saber North. And not a bad play considering the numbers here, because there's 2 more checks in the crypt here. And if the bow is there, then Steve can just go ahead and finish the game.
That is true. It is also worth noting that he did not go back and get the teleport to Nadairs, so he is going to have to go. He's going to have to go from Portoa from the top back in. So that will be a little bit of lost time if he does have to go for those checks. But I am very happy to see that we will have the crypt checked. And I'm hoping that we find our last mimic first, and then a bow.
This is possibly your best chances for mimic percent in a long time.
Yes, yes it is. And speaking of plays to prison here, Silverfyre is doing the exact same thing. So I'm actually really happy with this play too, because they were right in the area and they're just making the maximum amount of checks possible. This is great play. Now, it is worth noting, Silverfyre, level 12 with 35 scaling. Steve is 10 with 41 scaling. The big difference here is that Steve has full cleared Goa. That's kind of the difference in terms of where our runners are at. Hopefully, Silverfyre will go through and clear out the rest for us and let us know what those last 2 items are that do remain on Saber North. Steve!
Oh!
The Galaxy Brain play!
Oh!
The first chest. Steve, I beg you. I beg you. I'm begging you. If Silverfyre doesn't find these, go check the other chest. I'm begging you. Come on. Come on. Be my friend. Be my friend. Check that mimic.
So,
Just go right.
At 54 minutes and change, Steve Hacks has entered go mode, and he is not checking the last
He's
chest.
not doing it.
Goes in.
He's not doing it. It's okay. It's okay. The eyeglasses are there. The eyeglasses are there. There's still 2 chests on Saber. It's possible they're there. It's either going to be there or we're going to have the no % for Mimic. We're going to know where it's at. Silverfyre, you've got this. You're going to find my Mimic. Steve entering the Dragon fight now. Getting the fire breath pattern here. Is hoping he's in the right spot for the manipulation. Doesn't look like he is on the right pixel. It's really hard to tell where that is. He's getting a couple throw patterns here. He's gonna be able to take his time because he's got barrier, he's got refresh, he's got all the MP in the world.
I can't tell where it is. I just like bounce off his wings a few times and hope I'm in the right spot.
Lysis plant in one of the chests there. So there's only one left, and that's down by the front. There we go. Now we're getting a swoop. All right. Oh no!
Oh no!
He's got to reset out of the fight. It's okay. It's okay. Barrier is not all protecting. It does have a small time where it does not deflect things. That was that time.
So it's actually 1 frame, every 8th frame, your barrier sort of flickers off. And if the projectile, so that 1 frame, the projectile can kind of get closer to you than your barrier. And the other thing is that if a projectile contacts both you and the barrier at the same time, then it hits you. It doesn't just disintegrate on your barrier. So that kind of, those 2 facts kind of combine to really kind of limit the effect of your barrier. You've got to be careful, even if you have your barrier up.
Dragon here opening up the core now after the swoop pattern here. Is going to get attacked. Meanwhile, Silverfyre did finish the last check there. It is a Fruit of Power. We are not getting Mimic % because that Mimic is in the crypt. And I don't think anyone's going to check that second chest. Actually, Silver... No, because they're going to get the Flame Bracelet in the tower. Nope. Well, they're going to get Lag Storm for sure. I can't think of a reason why Silver would check the second chest.
I mean, unless they want Lag Storm, which...
It's in the tower. It's in Goa.
But they don't know that, so... Oh, okay.
But, yeah, Silver's there right now. They're going to full clear it. Alright, there's Steve taking down the Dragon 2 fight. Gonna have a short recollection here with the Wise Men, and then gonna go up the tower here.
So Steve, not having quite a very great time on that Dragon 2 fight, letting Silverfyre catch up quite a bit. It's still quite a bit of an advantage here, though.
Yeah, Steve does have some breathing room. Level 11, 42 scaling. Both rings. They've got barrier, refresh. I mean, our runners are pretty much equipped tooth and nail. They're going to do any strat they want here. The fastest being the power ring, charge, and stab strats, which, by the way, you'll notice he is doing charge and stabs. Like somebody else I know who may be sitting next to me here in the booth.
And those charge stabs, I mean, it's my favorite play.
Looks like he's gonna opt for the kill strat here on this. I don't blame him for that. Instead of shoving the robot down the stairs, because you can shove them off the floor there, and it will count as them being despawned, even though they're still there, in terms of if the robot exists or not. So this is still a good play. While Steve got up here to the second floor, sylverfyre did finish off the Kelbesk 2 fight there, getting rewarded with their opal statue. So they do have 1 revive in the event that they get knocked out.
Those charge and stab strats, very good. Steve has clearly been practicing this. So level 11 and 42 scaling is actually a fairly challenging tower. You know, usually level 12 gets you level 12 kind of makes a big difference. And if you have that warrior ring, a lot of times you have level 13, especially at the hour mark like this.
Sylverfyre still rushing through as fast as they can to get through Goa Fortress here. So that is the last large density area of checks left. So let's think here. Steve did not do Fog Lamp Cave.
That turned out to work out pretty well because there was the main item there was the key to Stixie, which ended up being leading to nothing.
I mean, it led to mimics. Don't get me wrong. It led to mimics. So it was definitely a good something, but not for our runners.
That's right.
All right. Sylverfyre starting the Subera 2 fight as Steve is combining his swords together to form the Crystalis and then be able to make his way up to Dinah for the final battle. Steve popping that opal, just running right up to the front. I'm super happy about this.
This is an interesting strat.
He's using the iframes from the opal to just go for it. I'm actually super happy about this because he's man-moding it. And he is going to get that kill here. And use the second opal that he had! Oh, it's so good. It's
Why
so
not?
good. Why not? It's the best place to use it, right? All right. And with that, Dinah goes down. Steve is done and has finished in first place with official SRL time of 1 hour, 2 minutes, and 57 seconds. So GG to Steve. At the same time, Sylverfyre did just take down Subera 2. So they're going to be climbing up here to the third set of floors. The Meadow floors here. Going to find some good stuff, including the Storm Bracelet.
So Sylverfyre is going to be finding the Bow of Moon here, but doesn't know that the Bow of Truth is going to be all the way in the crypt. So they will probably continue on and beat the rest of Goa Fortress here. So they've got a little while to go.
Well, that is very true. Looks like Steve will be joining us here in just a moment for a post-race interview. And here he is now. Steve, congrats on your first place finish and GG.
Thanks.
So, I gotta ask you one big question.
Yeah?
And I already know the answer, but I need to hear it from you. Why did you not check the last chest in the crypt?
What would I be looking for? Speed boost?
My mimic, buddy! My mimic!
Oh, well, what can I say?
No, we know once you found that Bow of Truth, you were just gonna fly right up the tower. And I'm super happy that you did. You got the 3 items there, the 2 from General Kelbesk on Saber North, and then the Key to Prison Vanilla location there. And then you kind of noped out of there. You said, I'm going to make the play. What triggered that for you? That's the big thing on our minds.
Yeah, I figured if you didn't ask, I was going to say something about that. I think Key to Prison was before, because I backdoored Saber North. But when I saw telepathy there, I figured this looks a lot like a bunch of junk that got placed at the end and wasn't actually needed. That was kind of what it was. And so I figured they weren't even intending me to go into Saber, and the logic was just saying, the crypt is probably where to play.
Okay. So yeah, it's that bit of developer knowledge there for when the items get placed. Definitely helped you out there for sure. I mean, both of us were kind of scratching our heads. We're like, Steve just left 2 items and didn't get the Nada report. What is he doing? What does he know that we don't know? And that's what that was. So it definitely helped keep your edge up. The other big thing, you did not check Fog Lamp Cave.
No, I didn't.
That's actually kind of a good thing. You would have found at the very last chest, if you didn't dip out of there, the very last chest had the key to Stixie.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would have been a rat hole.
Yep. And you actually wouldn't have found anything good in there. You would have found the shield ring, some more mimics, and a couple of consumables.
No speed boots yet?
No. So that has to be in, I guess that could be... No, that can't be. So yeah, it has to be on the oak chain there.
Yeah, how about that dragon fight?
Yo, how about that dragon? So you got the position. I actually had to ask Matrick on that. I'm like, is that right? Because he was just being the biggest jerk to you the whole time. You got the spot. Matrick confirmed it. He's like, yeah, you're at the coin flip, and he just every time didn't want to flip heads for you at all. That was definitely rough when it came down to it.
Well, in that dead frame for the curse, that was rough. And then I dropped the lag storm in the middle because I don't even know what I was looking for in the menu. But I don't know, that was probably the roughest Dragon fight I've had in a while.
Well, the Dragon fight may have been rough for you, but that tower, we gotta talk about that for a minute. Axe and I both noticed you were doing some charge stab strats there, and he's commenting on how you were practicing. We were very impressed with that, so kudos to you for that execution in the tower. It was very, very clean and good to watch.
Thanks, that's why you saved the opal statues.
Your play of the opal statues at the end was probably my personal favorite because you went man mode on Dinah. I was so happy to see you charge up there right at the front. You didn't even care, just every shot right into Dinah. I was so happy to see that. And the best part, we got the laugh at the end, and you probably did too, when you just didn't put on the barrier and that the blue shot hit you. And it's like, oh no, you're dead! Oh, I've got an opal.
Yeah, I knew I had that. Otherwise, I might have been a little more careful. Cost a few seconds. I don't know, at 55 and I get the bow and I'm like, this could be a really fast feed and who knows what Silver's doing, and you know, my heart was certainly beating pretty fast.
I'll tell you right now, you did handle it very well. Do you have any other thoughts about the earlier portion of the seed here? I mean, you got the sort of water start. You kind of just had a fairly linear path for at least the, I'd say, first couple checks there, and then kind of got opened up when you got the Sword of Wind, Orb, and Flight right out of the cave.
Yeah, I don't remember too much about that part of the game, to be honest.
So I have a question about the waterfall cave. Were you specifically putting off the waterfall cave until you had the Flute of Lime, or did you just decide to go there later?
Kind of half and half. I think if I don't have the Flute of Lime, I'm less inclined to go there. And by the time I got Fire, there were a number of things that opened up, and so it just didn't seem quite as attractive.
And honestly, that decision for you to wait paid off, because the only Thunder Source was available was on that Flute of Lime. So that paid off for you big time to put that off. Silverfyre actually did go in there and get the items to check. So that's how we knew. That's how we knew about all the rest of that in there. And that was kind of where the sequence started to break at that point. Was they started doing that where you were off doing other checks.
Yeah, it was also I think it was Axe or somebody mentioned just this morning about the two guys that you cure, and they tell you a hint about the fog lamp cave or cursive plant cave, and I totally forgotten I put that in there. So it was nice to use that, and I said, "Oh, teleport! I already got that." So, you know, there's a decent chance there's not much else in the fog lamp cave. That was part of why I never went back there.
Yep, and we were actually having that discussion on the Discord this morning about that, because I vaguely remember, I'm like, because everyone kept saying, yeah, it tells you an item that's in Fog Lamp Cave. I'm like, no, it's definitely told me something in Crystalis Plant. So Axe and I brought it up, we were talking about it there in chat, and he's like, yeah, it's just any of these items here in the code, and we're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I think the reasoning was that they're talking about a cave beyond the river, and that could be either of them. So I think I just figured, you know, let either one be.
Yeah, and that's definitely that was definitely something that I liked. Looks like Sylverfyre here, just after picking up the Bow of Truth, doing the Dragon fight here. Is worth noting, I did not see them go and get Barrier out of the back of Oasis Cave, so they do have to be a little careful here. They do have Refresh. Actually, do they? Did Silver go back and get Refresh?
Yeah, they got Refresh. I've seen them use it.
Okay.
But I guess Dragon this seed is just kind of a jerk. More so than usual.
Yeah.
The early Warrior Ring was really nice, I'll say. Certainly enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's actually a good thing that you brought up there with the earlier Warrior Ring. So you actually ended, in terms of leveling, I believe you were at 11.
Yeah, that's right.
I was at the 10 or 11, and then right now, like, Sylverfyre is at 14. So feels like you didn't kill nearly as much, but I know you were close to that level. Did you just choose to not use the Warrior Ring as much in the later areas? Because I know you did a lot of late early game and a lot of mid game killing.
Yeah, there were a number of spots where I figured I'd prefer to have Dio and not have to worry about MP recharging. So I figured I've got plenty of levels. All I really ever want is 11. You know, you can do a little faster, but I mean, I was killing the brown robots in one lag storm, and the white ones with stabbing in one lag storm. So that's kind of all the only levels you need. After the last couple weeks, I've been trying to make a conscious choice not to kill as many enemies, because I think it takes a lot more time and slows the game down.
Oh, it's definitely a good play, and that definitely paid off here. Especially since your handling here in the tower. That was definitely really good time save for you.
Thanks. I mean, people talk about how risky the stabs are, but if you've got the opal statues, you can take a few deaths, and it's not a big deal. So I really like that strategy. I was watching Overswarm as he was kind of working on his run, and I don't know, it kind of stuck with me.
I've definitely got to recommend Overswarm's 80% vanilla run guide to anyone who wants to play this game. He's got a great explanation of all of the vanilla strats, which a lot of them apply to the randomizer as well.
Don't say that. I'm going to get heckled in chat. People keep asking me when I'm going to run any percent.
I've tried it out, and with a little practice, I am somewhere like 5th or 6th on speedrun.com, so, it's actually not that hard if you can get into it.
No, it's not the point. I just don't have the time.
Okay, tell me about it.
I was gonna say, you're more swamped than I am right now when it comes to stuff, but like, I know you've got projects. I'm currently working on a project, and I just started 2 other randomizers, so. Sylverfyre is making a pretty good pacing here in terms of the tower floors. Definitely utilizing the lag storm here. I'm trying to actually remember where you got the fire bracelet, Steve, because I cannot recall where that was.
Yeah, me neither. I think I remember deciding not to do Evil Spirit Island initially. I did something else instead, and then got the flame bracelet, and that was a kind of sent me back that way. Or did you mean Storm Bracelet?
You got Storm Bracelet in Goa Fortress. You got an orb and, well, at least one of the orbs and the sword in Pyramid. So, I'm really trying to remember where that was. Maybe you got it beforehand. Yeah, so it was before Pyramid.
Yeah, I think it was wherever I went right before Evil Spirit Island, maybe.
Okay.
Or, no, I think I might have dived, whatever, Saber West first with the sword, and I thought that's kind of a weird thing to do, but I did it anyway. But with Tornado Bracelet and Flight, you know, it makes sense because you can get all 5 checks right off the bat.
Too true, and unfortunately, not having barrier does make the Dynafight a bit tougher there. Silverfyre taking a death, heading back up here for round 2.
I was also happy to know where Refresh was this game.
I knew you were going to route that back in, knowing where that was, because having, like, there was at one point your entire inventory, it was all magic rings, a fruit of power, and warp boots. And I'm just looking at that going, yeah, he's going to route that in, 100%.
I'm still a pretty big fan of having Refresh. I know some people are just, you know, whatever, just don't get hit, but I still like having a little crutch there.
I'm not gonna lie, if you're gonna give me an option of having refresh or not refresh, I'll take the refresh. If it's not refresh and I've got herbs available and an opal, yeah, I'll do it without. I won't like it, but I'll do it without.
Oh, sure.
It's just it's the biggest safety you can have.
Although I feel like I screwed up a few times in even that play too, sort of not quite getting through. I don't know, the magic. We're running out of magic and not refreshing quite enough.
That is very true. And Silverfyre taking down Dyna here, finishing with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 25 seconds. GG.
Hello.
Welcome, Silverfyre, and GG on the run.
That ball of thunder hurt my soul.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine having to go back into Waterfall Cave there with the Flute of Lime to get that, and that being the only possible thunder option because the other one was locked in Goa.
Yeah, everything else was locked by a ball of thunder at that point, and I was like, I'm really behind. And then so when I get the key of prison from 801, I'm like, if it's in Goa Fortress, I'm screwed because I'm already massively behind on being able to go into Goa Fortress. So I'm gonna follow this other chain and like hope that I get bailed out by Mount Hydra or something. Or not Mount Hydra, Mount Saber.
Yeah, I have a love-hate with Goa Fortress.
Yeah, it was definitely a good play, and it did open up Oak there in the entire swamp sequence, but unfortunately, we do know that wasn't required since getting Boa Moon on Goa, and then knowing that the last bow is in Crypt. Unfortunately, we'll never find that last Mimic who's also in the Crypt there, but that's okay, we know where he's at, and it's just a no % for Mimic.
We'll have to do a Mimic % tournament for you someday, Gozen.
You will. By the way, we came up with a better idea for how it'll work. I'll get you the specifications for it later. 36 Mimics.
That's terrible.
I was at 45 key items. I know exactly where barrier was, by the way. It was in the power ring chest, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, because everything else was logically locked by barrier. That's why I didn't go check it, because I knew it couldn't be the friggin' bow. I got the shield ring out of Stixie after sequence breaking in there.
Yeah, because logic will say that you either need barrier or you need access to refresh, or a lot of healing items.
It's refresh and shield ring is the alternate to barrier in the logic.
Not in this one. It's only barrier. It requires barrier. Exactly.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yep.
That's actually another good point. Was that Mado 1 dropping key to prison he dropped?
Yep.
Yes.
So that means that because you had to you needed barrier to get into there, and so I basically Saber North I noped out of pretty early because when I got telepathy there, I sort of like it looked to me like junk that was placed at the very end and wasn't actually needed, and so that was why I never finished Saber North. But I think that would be another indication for Saber as well.
I mean, what I was figuring is that I know these other items have to be in those places, and therefore that's one fewer location for Bow of Truth to be. Because of certain other items being locked to general locations.
Yeah, I don't know. Bow of Truth can almost be anywhere, but...
I mean, that's the point. Bow of Truth can be anywhere, yeah. But like other items have to be in not anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And therefore, Bow of Truth is less likely to, like, has that many fewer chances to end up in there.
Yeah, it's always tricky to play psychology with the logic.
I knew I was gambling when I did Saber North because I knew I was behind after the Ball of Thunder from the double dip of Waterfall. So it was rough, but things happen.
That was definitely not a fast seed, no matter how you did it.
Not at all.
I don't know, in the beginning I always think, oh, this might be a really fast one. I feel like at one point I had higher scaling than the number of minutes in the game, and I was like, oh, I don't think that's usually how it goes. Or it was kind of a lot closer, but then that kind of fell off.
All right, so now I'm 0-3, so now's where I make a big upset in the brackets, right?
Yes, that's exactly right.
That's right.
All right, you guys really want to know where the speed boots were, but I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know.
I think it's if you didn't find them,
it's in the
it's
Oak
probably
sequence
the other.
Oak.
It's probably the
Probably
Oak sequence or the second chest in Backup Pyramid, maybe.
That's got to be the Mimic. You guys checked every other freestanding chest.
Oh, did we?
Oh, okay, you're right. So it can't be. I don't count mimics because
I do.
It's hard. How many mimics are there? Is it 12?
12 for now.
Okay.
Currently.
Yeah, so that makes the heck run into Oak possibly worth it. You know, you get speed boots in the very beginning of the game, and bam, you're off.
Yeah, but remember, the only thing that you would have been able to check was the Stom training sequence, because Insect Flute came so late.
Right, telepathy and Insect Flute.
Yep, super late.
Well, I enjoyed that seed.
It was definitely a fun one to watch.
Any final thoughts for you guys?
Not really. Thanks for playing. It was a fun race. And I'm looking forward to this last week of the Swiss round.
But before that, we actually have one more race tonight, and it's going to be Dragon Dark playing against Sho Fukumachi. And Dragon Dark is a longtime vanilla speedrun world record holder, and he's actually pretty good at the randomizer too. So he's going to be a good runner to watch.
And that's not to say anything about Show either. He's put in quite a bit of effort here and is actually quite a force to be reckoned with. So definitely don't count him out before that starts. Do not count Show out before the match starts. And that is going to be on this channel in an hour. So please make sure to come back and watch that. I will be casting that. And I believe Axe, you're coming back to join me for that as well.
Sure thing.
All right. Well, thank you again, Speed Gaming, for hosting us here on the channel. We do greatly appreciate it. After the final match of tonight, we'll have new brackets done up here, and more matches will be scheduled for next week. Next week is the final week of the Swiss rounds here for our seating placements before brackets start. It is good to know that the bracket flags are actually going to be a bit tougher, requiring us to do a couple more things before we can enter go mode. So please look forward to that. And for the runners themselves, the commentary team, and everyone here, do have a wonderful night. And we hope to see you back here soon. Take care.